The US military says it has detected a failed North Korean intermediate ballistic missile test. A Pentagon statement was released saying the US strongly condemned this and other recent tests and urged Pyongyang to refrain from actions that further raise tensions in the region. The US Strategic Command Systems detected the failed launch near the northwestern city of Kusong. The statement does not explain what went wrong, but made clear it did not pose a threat to North America. Last month, North Korea said it had successfully carried out its fifth nuclear test in defiance of UN resolutions. In response, Washington said it would speed up the deployment of an anti-missile system to South Korea.
Now, the Yemeni army has warned about the direct engagement of U.S. forces in the war against their country. Yemen's army spokesperson said that Washington's cruise missile strikes on the three radar sites may turn the strategic Strait of Bab el-Mandab into a war zone.
Yemeni army spokesperson has reacted on Thursday's cruise missile strikes on three coastal radar sites along the Red Sea coast. Aziz Rashid said the US's claim that its warship had been attacked was only an excuse to launch its direct military action against Yemen. Political analysts say that the US will use excuses to take control of the strategic strait through which 70% of the world's crude oil passes every day. The country's army has said the US is after turning the maritime passageway into a conflict zone. Now many Yemenis say that their country has the right to defend itself against any invading forces.
Just 2 days after the U.S. launched retaliatory strikes in Yemen and vowed to continue with the self-defense measures it deems necessary, the USS Mason has allegedly fallen under attack for the third time in a week, according to the Pentagon. The Mason once again appears to have come under attack in the Red Sea, again from coastal defense cruise missiles fired from the coast of Yemen. Navy Admiral John Richardson, Chief of Naval Operations, told reporters at an event in Baltimore on Saturday.
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry says Yemen's Houthi rebels have released 2 U.S. citizens. Kerry isn't identifying the Americans by name. He says they were freed Saturday as part of a complicated diplomatic arrangement that included airlifts for Yemenis wounded by an airstrike this past week by a Saudi-led coalition. Those individuals were taken to Oman for treatment. Kerry says the U.S. has been working on such efforts for the past few days. He says the U.S. is also pushing for a ceasefire in Yemen that would allow the country's internationally recognized government and the Iran-backed Houthis to return to negotiations.
Well, Russia has slammed the U.S. for its, quote, unprecedented threats against Moscow over an alleged series of cyber attacks. The Kremlin said it would take the necessary measures to protect its interests and vowed to respond to any cyber attacks from the U.S. This after Washington formally accused the Russian government of trying to interfere in its 2016 presidential race through cyber attacks. Vice President says a message will be sent to Russian President Vladimir Putin. Joe Biden reiterated that the CIA is preparing a retaliatory attack to harass and embarrass the Kremlin leadership.
The British media are reporting that the UK Navy is planning to send warships to intercept and escort a Russian aircraft carrier and 7 accompanying vessels as they pass by UK waters.
The Admiral Kuznetsov is Russia's only aircraft carrier. It carries helicopters and aircraft if it needs to. And the press service for Russia's Northern Fleet has confirmed that the aircraft carrier and a number of accompanying ships have left Severomorsk, which is a Russian port town in the north, up near Finland, and it's headed for the Mediterranean. So at the moment, this group of ships and the aircraft carrier are somewhere in the Barents Sea. Now, the Northern Fleet has also confirmed that the group of ships will be carrying out some military drills on the way, and that route from the north down to the Med will take the Russian ships through the North Sea, past Scotland, down the British coast and through the English Channel, which is why the Royal Navy is going to be keeping a very close eye on the group of ships sailing past the UK and accompanying them as they do that. Now, officially, the Royal Navy has released a statement saying that it's completely standard procedure for NATO and the Royal Navy to monitor any foreign ships that pass their so-called area of interest, i.e. close to their waters. So these are the bare bones of the story, but the local media here has presented the whole thing in a somewhat more dramatic fashion. You've got headlines, things like the Russians posturing, Putin flexing his military muscles, and stuff like the Russians are coming, the Royal Navy is on standby. Newspaper articles that make the whole affair sound very confrontational.
Если такое однажды случится, то каждый из вас должен знать, где находится ближайшее бомбоубежище. И выяснить это лучше прямо сейчас, потому что после того, как прозвучит страшный сигнал тревоги, на поиск места, которое может спасти вам жизнь, останутся считанные минуты.
Turkey-backed Syrian rebels have begun attacking the ISIL-held village of Dabiq. The small town, prophesied to be the site of the apocalypse in the Hadith, is of little military significance to ISIL. However, the group has stationed around 1,200 fighters in the town, and the surrounding area has been scattered with landmines. Like Mosul in Iraq, Dabiq has been held by the jihadist group since 2014. An assault on Mosul is expected soon, though ISIL will not give up its stronghold easily.
The Iraqi Air Force has dropped leaflets warning Mosul residents that the liberators are coming, and the Iraqi army has encircled the city. Retaking Mosul, which is part of a key transportation corridor, won't be easy. The Islamic State has reportedly booby-trapped the city and dug tunnels to gain tactical advantage. It's going to be a fight to the death for ISIS, says David Phillips, an expert from Columbia University. There is no escape for them.
In Iraq, dozens of people have been killed following multiple attacks in Baghdad and across the country. The deadliest blast took place in the north of the Iraqi capital when a suicide bomber targeted a funeral tent, which was also filled with people taking part in the Shiite Ashura ritual. At least 41 people were killed and scores injured. ISIL claimed responsibility for that attack. The escalation in violence comes as Iraqi forces continue to prepare for a major operation to retake the northern Iraqi city of Mosul. Elsewhere in Iraq, 8 people were killed by a suicide blast on a police station in Tikrit, while the wife and 3 children of a local commander in Ishaki district were also shot dead by militants.
And now a new round of international talks on the Syrian crisis has ended with no real progress. Negotiations were held in the Swiss city of Lausanne and then were attended by top diplomats from 9 countries. Participants failed to come up with a joint statement afterwards. And following the meeting, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry said that there was consensus among countries on some key concepts and a broad agreement was reached on, quote, desired outcome of ending the Syria conflict. Kerry's Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov noted that the negotiators agreed to hold further talks in the near future.
The German Chancellor says that Britain is unable to get single market access with free movement concessions. Angela Merkel says that if Britain is given concessions, other countries in the bloc would want the same. She added that Britain could get access to the free single market only if it accepts the bloc's 4 freedoms, including the freedom of movement of people. Merkel's comments echo the comments of other European leaders, including the French president, who has warned London of a hard Brexit. Bank of England has warned that life will turn difficult for Britain's most vulnerable, as inflation is expected to rise in the coming months following the Brexit. Governor of the Bank of England, Mark Carney, said that inflation was likely to surpass the bank's official 2% target over the coming years. He noted that the bank will tolerate a bit of an overshoot to avoid unnecessary unemployment. Carney added that between 400,000 and 500,000 jobs could have been at risk if the bank had not cut interest rates in August. The pound has fallen by about 18% since the UK's Brexit vote in June. Bank of England has signaled it may cut interest rates again later this year.
A significant number of unaccompanied children living at the Calais jungle migrant camp are set to arrive in the UK within days. British and French officials have begun the process of registering children trying to join family in the UK, with a view to allowing over 300 to claim asylum in the country. Mary, a volunteer, says these are not migrants, these are not refugees, they are children. We even had a child who was 6 and who was entirely alone. Charities estimate that over 1,000 unaccompanied children live in the camp, making up 10% of its population. President Francois Hollande has said the camp will be shut down by the end of the year, but aid agencies are beginning to worry that authorities are not ready to relocate refugees. For now, a lucky fraction can complete their journey.
Caught on camera, former Democratic Wisconsin Senator Russ Feingold telling the truth about Hillary Clinton's strategy to take guns out of your hands, law-abiding America. Watch this.
If there's still a Republican control in Congress, and if Hillary is elected, is there anything she could do to...
there might be executive orders. Executive orders, not through Congress, our most democratic institution, but straight from the White House, taking your guns away.
A state of desperation in Haiti after Hurricane Matthew. Nations in the hard-hit city of Jeremy towards the United Nations Food Programme. The looting incident came just moments before UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon's arrival in Lekki, another hard-hit city in the southwestern peninsula. Humanitarian aid has been slow to reach the region, where Hurricane Matthew hit in early October, killing around 1,000 people.
We are going to mobilize.
Ban Ki-moon offered Haitians words of hope, telling them to stay strong and promising to work quickly to provide more help. But with major shortages of food, drinking water, and medical supplies in devastated areas, the help couldn't be fast enough.
2 miles off the coast of Southern California, in this island tourist haven, fresh water is becoming so scarce that at fine dining restaurants, servers quietly collect leftover bottled water to mop the floor. And islanders like Mary Boyd now reuse their water. In her shower, a bucket catches water while it's warming up.
I'm like a 2-minute shower. My daughter, on the other hand, is about a 10-minute shower.
That's a long shower?
That's a long shower. Are you kidding?
It's an effort to meet some of the most stringent water restrictions in the country.
All customers have to conserve 50% of the water they were using pre-rationing.
So they have to cut their water usage in half from what it was essentially before the drought.
Exactly.
So contractors use bottled water to mix concrete. Landscapers ship in water to irrigate what's not already AstroTurf. And some hotels now ship out their laundry to the mainland.
My last bill that came in was $4,700.
Yolanda Montano says the water bill at her laundromat has doubled, and she now faces fines and penalties for going over her water allotment as more islanders use her washers to avoid water violations at home.
Which to me is just a water shuffle.
What happens if you close your doors?
I personally believe that it would pose a health risk to our community. A lot of residents don't have washer and dryers.
So if you close this place, they got nowhere to go.
No.
What's the solution here?
Rain. Significant amounts of rain.
And if that doesn't happen soon, the nearly 4,000 people living here could be facing a 75% water cut by next summer.
Well, Dana, because there's been so little rain, especially over the past few months, the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection may issue a drought warning. The water level at Oradell Reservoir is nearly immeasurable. The bottom exposed, the muck so dry, it's cracking.
If we were at capacity, you would see 8 feet of water here. It would be over our heads.
A result of annual rainfall running more than 10 inches below normal. Suez spokesperson Billy Gallo says as of today, their 3 reservoirs that serve 800,000 customers are at 44% capacity.
Rainfall has been less than half of normal for the last 60 days.
Dr. Dave Robinson, the New Jersey state climatologist at Rutgers University, says across the state, conditions are driest in Bergen County.
If we don't fill our reservoirs these next 6 months, we're going to be faced with more substantial consequences come next May and June.
We need Mother Nature to cooperate.
Heavy rains and hurricane-force winds are hammering the Pacific Northwest. The storm system is what's left of a typhoon, and it's already unleashed tornadoes in Oregon. Another round of severe weather is moving in tonight, bearing down on coastal towns and major cities from San Francisco to British Columbia.
That's a freaking twister.
It started as a giant waterspout off the coast of Oregon.
Oh my gosh!
But became a tornado when it hit land. An EF2 twister with 125-mile-per-hour winds tore through the coastal town of Manzanita on Friday, uprooting trees, downing power lines, and damaging homes and businesses. Phil Panos saw it happen.
It looked like the Wizard of Oz. That's what it looked like. Things were just moving like this. Then you could see the trees just snapping like twigs.
In Portland, streets turned into rivers as several inches of rain flooded parts of the city. Seattle has now had more rainfall in the past 2 days than it got in the previous 3 months combined. This monster of a storm system is the remnants of a powerful Pacific typhoon. It has walloped Washington and Oregon for nearly 3 days now. Tens of thousands of people have lost power, and fallen trees have caused injuries.
It kind of shocked us all. We just kind of heard this loud thump.
Stella Gallardo's car was crushed by a tree in her work parking lot. In Olympic National Park, the Coast Guard had to rescue 40 kids and 6 adults who were trapped at a lakeside camp that lost power. Despite the damage the Pacific Northwest has already seen, forecasters say the second half of this 1-2 punch is coming. The wind is expected to howl here tonight in what could be a historic windstorm. All day forecasters have been telling people to get their preparations done while they have the time. They're expecting a lot of people to lose power and a lot of trees to come down.